Hi, this is Pastor Mike Berry. This last Sunday, I'd made mention of the 9 periods of Old Testament history during our Answers Bible Sunday School class. So I wanted to give you a mnemonic device that will help you memorize the 9 periods of Old Testament history. Now, the pictures that are in this PowerPoint presentation, I can't take credit for. They were done by my beautiful wife, Katie Berry. Actually, several years ago, I'd asked her to draw up some pictures for us. She did so very quickly and did a great job, and I've been using those pictures for a number of years now. The first thing that we need to do is just to familiarize you with the mnemonic device. It just basically uses the numbers 1 to 9 in this case, and we associate each number in the list with a picture that will help us recall that particular period of Old Testament history. So with the number 1, we would say one bun, and we call to mind a hamburger bun, for instance, which is what I have in my mind. That will call to mind the first period of Old Testament history. 2 shoe, so you need to call to mind a shoe. 3 tree. 4 door, we're going to bring to mind a door. 5 hive, this is a beehive. 6 sticks, I think of drumsticks. We're going to have 2 drumsticks together. 7 heaven, the image I use is a cloud, not theologically correct, but a cloud calls to mind heaven, so 7 heaven. 8 gate, we have some sort of gate that we call to mind when we hear the word 8. And then 9 dime, I have in my mind an American dime. We won't use 10 hen. You could use 10 hen if you're memorizing the 10 Commandments, for instance. So here's the 9 periods of Old Testament history charted out for us on a date line. Beginnings, patriarchs, Exodus, conquest, judges, United Kingdom, divided kingdom, exile, and post-exilic period. So we're going to help you memorize that. So now we start first on our list would be one bun. And the bun that I call to mind is a hamburger bun that has sesame seeds arranged looking like a sun and a moon and a star, which calls to my mind creation. And with all the other associations of Adam and Eve and the garden, the fall, and Cain and Abel, leading right up to the flood and then the Tower of Babel. This would be considered the beginnings, the first 11 chapters of Genesis. Then we have 2 shoe next in our list, which a shoe comes to my mind, and this person peeking out of the shoe is Abraham, if you didn't know that, and which reminds us of the patriarchal period. So this would be Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Next we have 3 tree, and what comes to my mind is this tree with an exit sign nailed to it. Yes, that does say exit on the side of that tree, which reminds me of the Exodus, where God brought Israel out of Egypt with a strong and mighty hand to worship him. We have the Red Sea incident. We have Mount Sinai, the giving of the law, and yes, Israel wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. Then 4 door. This door comes to mind with the walls crumbling around the door, which reminds us of the conquest, that Israel went into the land to conquer the land. The crumbling walls reminds us of Jericho, and so Joseph and Caleb and Israel came into the land in obedience to the Lord to conquer the land. Next we have 5 hive, which calls to mind a beehive, and this is a judge with his gavel hitting the beehive very unwisely. And so the period of the judges, where people were not wise and everyone was doing what was right in his own eyes. And so the Lord raises up judges like Gideon and Samson, Deborah, Samuel being the last judge. Which brings us to 6 sticks, and this reminds us of the United Kingdom. This is King David being pictured here, who has two sticks united in one hand. So we have the United Kingdom under King David. Next we have 7 heaven. When I think of heaven, I draw what comes to mind as a cloud. This is a crown of a king that has been divided or cracked on this cloud, which reminds me of the divided kingdom between Israel and Judah. So Jeroboam and Rehoboam, there's the civil war, and which begins the divided kingdom period of Old Testament history. Which brings us to 8 gate. Eventually, after many warnings of the prophets, we have Israel is taken away into exile in 722 BC by Assyria, and then 586 BC, Judah is taken away into exile by Babylon. So this is a poor Hebrew who is chained to the gate, demonstrating that he is in exile, and so 8 gate is the exile. Next we have 9 dime, and so what comes to my mind is a dime, and this is a Hebrew dime-headed dude coming down from Persia back into Canaan, back into the land, which reminds me of the post-exilic period that we have for us in the text of Scripture in Ezra and Nehemiah. And so we have the returns under Ezra, under Zerubbabel, Nehemiah being involved as well, and so the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem, and then eventually the foundation of the temple, and so on. So this is the post-exilic period. So then you can go ahead and quiz yourself. We think of one bun, what comes to mind? What comes to my mind is a hamburger bun with sun, moon, and stars on it. Reminds me of this particular slide. The beginnings. And so one bun reminds us of the beginnings. Next we have 2 shoe. What does this remind you of? Well, it should remind you of the patriarchal period. Next we have 3 tree. What is coming to your mind? Hopefully what came to your mind is the period of the Exodus. Next we have 4 door. What is the door that is coming to your mind? Hopefully you thought of the conquest. Next we have 5 hive. Can you see the image of the beehive? What is around the beehive? Hopefully you're thinking of the period of the judges. Next we have 6 sticks. What kind of sticks are you seeing? Who is holding the sticks? Well, hopefully what came to mind is the United Kingdom. Next we have 7 heaven. I've got a particular image that I use for heaven. Yours doesn't have to follow mine. But my image reminds me of the divided kingdom period. Next we have 8 gate. You should have some sort of gate and something associated with the gate. My image reminds me of the exile. And finally we have 9 dime. So what is the image that you have in mind? My image reminds me of the post-exilic period. So I hope this has been helpful for you in memorizing the 9 periods of Old Testament history: beginnings, patriarchal period, Exodus, conquest, judges, united, kingdom, divided kingdom, exile, and post-exilic period. Have fun studying. Hope this also just helps give you a grid or a skeleton on which you can hang the rest of the books of the Old Testament. As you're studying through the minor and major prophets, for instance, you can hang them on this particular skeleton of Israel's history.